in the Book of Mormons, it says in 2 Nephi 5:21, and he had caused a cursing to come upon them, yeah, even a sore cursing, because of their iniquity. For behold, they had hardened their hearts against them, that they had become like unto a flint. Wherefore, as they were white and exceedingly fair and delightsome, that they might not be enticing unto my people, the Lord God did cause a skin of blackness to come upon them. So what this is saying in the Mormon Bible is saying that black skin is a curse. Is black skin a curse? By the end of this video, this question will be answered. So first, we're going to get some biblical understanding. Then we're going to look at this from a common sense perspective. Now let me say this. This video is not intended to attack any nation's skin color, alright? All we're trying to do is look at reality. Some would say skin color doesn't matter. My response to that, all truth and deception matters, because it can alter your perception and change your behavior, whether good or bad, depending on which one you choose to accept. Take, for example, Sammy Sosa. In less than 6 months, this man changed his skin from a dark chocolate color to a vanilla color. If he knew that black skin was blessed, he would never have done that. The deception is so great that you even have Asian people putting masks on their face when they go swimming or go to the beach, just so their skin doesn't get darker.
Did you know that women in China wear wild face masks to the beach? Dubbed face kinis, they serve as excellent sun protection in a culture that prizes pale skin as a sign of wealth and beauty. Swimmers often buy the masks for a few dollars at local stores and then make their own funky fashions by pairing the masks with colorful, full-body swimsuits. Currently, between 2 and 3 million skin cancers occur globally each year. So China's face kinis not only keep you beautifully fair, they also offer practical protection.
Notice that she said the face kini offers practical protection against the sun. We will look at this later, but first, let's look at the definition of melanin. The definition of melanin. Melanin is a broad term for a group of natural pigments found in most organisms. Melanin is an effective absorber of light. The pigment is able to dissipate over 99.9% of absorbed UV radiation. Because of this property, melanin is thought to protect skin cells from UVB radiation damage, reducing the risk of cancer. Furthermore, though exposure to UV radiation is associated with risk of malignant melanoma, a cancer of the melanocytes, studies have shown a lower incidence for skin cancer in individuals with more concentrated melanin, an example, darker skin tone. As you can see, melanin is our natural protection against the sun. The lack of melanin results in skin burns and even cancer.
So China's face kinis not only keep you beautifully fair, they also offer practical protection.
And in Africa, which the so-called Middle East is a part of, having this protection is vital. In fact, no matter where you are in the world, melanin in the skin is needed.
Good evening. With summer upon us, there are millions of Americans who won't leave home without it, and for good reason. Sunscreen has become standard equipment for the human body in recent years, and it's out of sheer necessity with skin cancer rates galloping skyward.
Connor and his 5-year-old brother, Trey Wells, are being treated for second and third degree sunburns.
Your bright's right, small's wrong, and there's no excuse for this.
Their mother, Shauna Broadway, says her boys were burned while in the care of Happiness is a Learning Center.
I'm a single parent, and I do all I can. You know, I work Monday through Friday, and they have to go to daycare.
She says her son spent all day at daycare Friday playing at this splash pad without shirts or sunscreen. So we went to the daycare to find out more.
I'm the manager, but we're serving lunch.
But the manager told us she has no comment. We learned the daycare has been cited by DHS 19 times in the past year, mainly for staffing, signage, and scheduling issues. Broadway says she just wants the daycare to take responsibility, so what happened to her sons happens to no one else.
Let's take a look at the Bible. In the Bible, there's no example of black skin being called a curse. But whenever you see white skin being put on somebody, it was a curse. Except for when Moses put his hand to his bosom and took it out and it turned white from his already black skin, okay? 2 Kings 5:1. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honorable, because by him Yahuwah had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. So notice it says he was a mighty man in valor, so basically strong. He was a strong man, but he was a leper. Now this doesn't make sense because in the churches, some churches teach that leprosy is where a disease where your nose and ears and fingers fall off and stuff like that. But how can you be a strong man in valor with those problems? Okay, this doesn't make sense. Leprosy is a disease in your skin when it turns white. Let's skip down to verse 14. It says, then, and this is when Naaman's trying to get his leprosy cleansed. Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of Elohim, and his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. So it says his flesh came again unto him like a little child. Little children's flesh is pretty clear, okay? They don't have a lot of blemishes that older people do, so his flesh was cleansed. Now let's see what happened when Gehazi tried to take a reward for the healing of Naaman. Let's see what Elijah told him. Verse 27. Leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee and unto thy seed forever. And he went out from his presence a leper, as white as snow. There it is again, just like in Numbers 12 it says, from his presence a leper, white as snow. Leprosy was when your skin turned white. 2 Chronicles 26:1. Then all the people of Judah took Uzziah, who was 16 years old, and made him king in the room of his father Amaziah. Verse 16. But when he was strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction, for he transgressed against Yahuwah's Elohim, and went into the temple of Yahuwah to burn incense upon the altar of incense. Verse 19. Then Uzziah was wroth and had a censer in his hand to burn incense. And while he was wroth with the priests, the leprosy even rose up in his forehead before the priests in the house of Yahuwah, from beside the incense altar. So notice the leprosy rose up in his forehead. How are you going to have your forehead falling off if that's leprosy? That doesn't make any sense. His skin actually turned from black to white. Verse 20. And Azariah the chief priest and all the priests looked upon him, and behold, he was leprous in his forehead. And they thrust him out from thence. Himself hasted also to go out, because Yahuwah had smitten him. See, it says Yahuwah had smitten him. So this is how you know this was a curse from Yahuwah. Verse 21. And Uzziah the king was a leper unto the day of his death, and dwelt in a several house, being a leper, for he was cut off from the house of Yahuwah. And Jotham his son was over the king's house, judging the people of the land. Alright, there are many more examples in the Bible on the topic of skin and what is called vitiligo and albinism today. But hopefully by now you get the point. Black skin is not a curse, it's a blessing. And to be honest, it really wasn't this necessary to go through all of this. Common sense tells us that the Most High did not create the sun to burn our skin. So if you believe the Book of Mormon, you can walk away and say that black skin is a curse. But if you choose not to, you can clearly see that the Bible, science, and just common sense proves that black skin is not a curse.